Welcome back to the Three Parallels podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we discover who we were, who we are, and who we're trying to become. And today's guest, ooh, I'm telling y'all, whenever I bring family on this show, we have a good time. The reality is, we've been talking this shit for a long time. Now y'all get a chance to listen. So this guest that I have for today is family because we go back, way back, so far back that she was an MBC. She is, because it's like a fraternity, a sorority. Like once you remember it, that's it for life. So she is a member of the MBCC Minority Fellows, and I had the pleasure of meeting her as one of my mentees several years ago when she's a doc student. And from the initial phone call, I already knew, so I already called her by name, Dr. Jones, when we first talked. And from that moment all the way to today, we've gone from a mentee-mentor relationship to colleagues. So now we support each other, we assist each other, we're cheerleaders for each other. And this woman, to me, represents Black girl magic. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you today, Dr. Janelle Jones. Welcome to the show, baby.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So listen, we're going to dive right in because people need to
All right.
know who we talking to. Okay. So
Okay.
if you could share your story, your journey, who you are, who you were, who you're becoming, from humble beginnings to where you are now as a faculty, living your dreams, living your best life. I mean, world traveler, like you out here, you out here. So if you
Yeah.
could share with us the journey of where you were to where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. So born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. That's my hometown, which is a mid-sized city. It's growing, right? But growing up, it was kind of like, there's really nothing to do here. There's not too much to do here. Beyonce's never going to stop here on tour type of thing, which was fun. So we had to go to Chicago for that. But grew up in a cold city, lots of snow, lots of family time, right? Family oriented. However, when I was a kid, I think I was like 5, maybe turning 6, my parents got divorced. Right. And so they took us to family therapy. And I was like, my therapist was a Black woman. I was like, I want to be able to help families with their tough times, their tough moments. Like, maybe I can do this. Right. Yeah. And at the time, my mom was actually in her own doctoral program to become a psychologist. Right. And so I'm just hearing the conversation she's having with like some of her cohort members and things like that. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can do this. Right. So like I made up my mind at the age of 6 what I was going to be in life. Yeah. And so everything. Yeah, everything leading up into these moments, right, has been like, you've been on this trajectory, this path, right? And so moving through life, right, grew up, had a smaller family, my brother, my grandma lived with us, which contributed largely to like my own research agenda and working with Black older adults. But yeah, had a wonderful life growing up. And then I went away to college at 18, which is really cool. But I was still like an hour away from family. So I was still in the state, but it was like yearning to leave the state of Indiana, right? Went to college, did my first study abroad to India, which is really great. And it gave me the travel bug. And I was like, okay, not only am I going to get out of Indiana, like I'm going to leave this country multiple times. And so I was like, I got my passport. It's good for the next 10 years. Like I'm going to use this thing up. So developed a love of travel. And during my senior year of college, I was applying to different graduate schools. And I was like, this is my ticket out. Right? Like I didn't get to leave for undergrad, but like I am not staying here for grad school. Now the amount of student loans I acquired should have suggested otherwise, but I got about the state. I moved down to Georgia, went to Georgia State, which is really cool. And while I was there, met some lifelong friends, really great cohort members. And when I started my master's program, I was like, okay, I was a kid, I was in therapy, I want to be able to help other Black kids. So I went into Georgia State and wrote my little admissions letter saying like, I'm going to be a Black play therapist, right? And we did our first play therapy class and I was like, actually, I'm not. Nope, I don't have the patience or tolerance for children. I don't actually want to do this. I'm not about this sand tray life. Like, no, thank you. So I switched and like my advisor who was a play therapist was like, what do you mean you're switching? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm switching. I don't actually want to do this. So I went to the entire opposite end of the age spectrum, right? And I was like, not kids, older adults. And there was a gerontological certificate program at GSU. They have a gerontology institute. And so while I was in practicum and internship, I was taking some of my final counseling classes, like appraisal, and then I also enrolled in their certificate program. And so last year, my master's program burnt out, right? Burnt out because I was like trying to do all the hours for internship, still taking counseling classes, and then taking 3 additional classes a semester so I could still get out of the program on time and graduate with this additional certificate. And then also applying for doctoral programs, right? Because I was like,
Wow.
I'm gonna be Dr. Jones, right? Here's this
So real
trajectory.
quick, you've been
Yeah,
living this life your whole life.
whole life, whole life, whole life. Yeah. And
Okay.
so it's been an interesting, and I think that's the interesting thing, right? Because it's like there's always been another finish line, right? Like
Mm,
even when I get to like, okay, I finished undergrad, let me go to my master's program, new finish line. And like, all right,
mhm,
I'm getting this degree, but I also want the certificate, new finish line. Right. And then
mhm.
while I'm actively trying to get to that finish line, I'm applying to get another finish line in a doc program.
Wow.
And so I was already like, oh, I'm so tired. Right. But I'm doing the things, and this is what I said my dream was. And so I like to attribute it to being a Capricorn, but like hard work I've never shied away from that. And so
Yeah.
it's like, well, here's this journey and here's what I say I want. So let me do this work to get it in and do it. And so I applied for different doc programs. I ended up at the University of Alabama. So I moved a couple hours away from where I was in Georgia. And the first year of my doc program hit me like a ton of bricks.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is different. I don't like the city necessarily. And the program expectations were totally different, right? From a master's level to a doctoral level. And so in comes a little bit of imposter syndrome where I'm like, do I know what I'm doing? I thought I was good enough, or I thought this was, my trajectory. Like, am I in the right spot? Is this conducive to what I say I want to do and be? So a lot of struggle in the first couple of years of my doc program. And then I met you, Dr. Branch, which is
Mhm.
great, and got connected to a mentor and folks who were really pouring into me and being like, no, like you are who you say you are,
Yes,
and you
indeed.
can do all the things you want to do. You just have to
Mhm.
figure out how to navigate the systems you're already in. And
Come
so
on.
I'm like, okay, bet we can do that. Help me out, right? Give me all the advice and the support and love needed to get through my program. And so after 5 years, right? So that's the other thing too. My program was a 4-year program. Some doc programs are 3-year programs. Mine was a 4-year program. Pandemic happened
Mhm.
in the middle of my program. I think a lot of my focus got lost there, and it was kind of like am I working from home? I'm a coffee shop girl. Like, what are we doing? And so wasn't actually doing the work from home, and then was experiencing again another stint of burnout. And so it was like, well, how do I, after my dissertation proposal, how do I open my laptop without crying? Right?
Mm.
Like it was a moment. And thankfully, I will say this, had a Black woman therapist my entire doc program. So that
Mm.
mental health care was necessary. And like as a clinician, I'm always advocating for other clinicians to get and have clinicians. And so like that helped me like get motivated again and be able to navigate some of the anxiety I had around finishing out my program. And so took 5 years out of a 4-year program, needed the extra year. It worked out in my favor. Defended summer of 23. Summer of 22, I was like, okay, this is gonna be my 5th and final year. I'm done, but when I'm done, I'm taking a break. Like I
Yes.
made up my mind a year earlier. I was like, after I graduate, I could go onto the job market. I had already, looked around for jobs and had honestly been hired for a job. And they're like, as long as you finish by this date, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, actually, no, thank you. I appreciate the offer. Thank you so much. It's good to know that I am qualified for positions in my field, and that's great. And also no, because I need rest, right?
Mhm.
Because as I shared, I had been going finish line to finish line. And so I made a conscious decision that honestly went against the grain of everything I knew and
Mm.
how I was raised to like work hard, keep going.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to rest. I've done all this work and I've spent my entire, like all of my life in school since the age of 5. No
Yeah.
breaks, no
Yeah.
gaps, no gap
Mhm.
years. And I was like, I'm taking a gap year
Yeah.
between school and work. I need it. I deserve it. I've earned it. And no one's going to tell me different. And so I
Mm.
had a year to kind of start planning out, okay, what do I want to do during the gap year? How do I save money to make sure that I can afford to live during the gap year and pay bills and also like do these traveling things that I'm planning to do? Um, so the year that I was finishing out, I was also planning to take a year of rest. After I finished, which was a struggle in and of itself, I had folks dropping off my committee at the last minute and all these other dramatic things that really shouldn't have happened, but they happened. And so I was navigating those the best I could with the goal in mind of like, after this, I'm unplugging, right?
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm not answering my emails. I won't be attached to it. No one will I won't owe anybody a copy or a revision of anything. I'm taking a gap. And
Mhm.
so after I finished, I moved home to the state of Indiana. Because I hit my mom up and I was like, listen, I'm not about to pay rent during this year and be out of the country. I need to save my money to be able to travel and spend money in these different countries. And so she was like, yeah, come on home. And she was glad to have me home because I haven't lived there since I was 18.
Mhm.
And she was like, yeah, come home. And so what I didn't anticipate during the gap year is spending so much time at home, not realizing like I did miss my family. I missed
Wow.
my mom. I missed familiarity in the city that I was raised in. And so that was a beautiful time to be able to spend quality time with
Mm.
family after having been gone so long for school or only being able to come home on holiday breaks. So that was a good time. But then I was like, okay, I've had enough time in Indiana. It's snowing now. I've got to go travel. And so I went to 9 different countries during the gap year, which was a
Wow.
great time. And I presented at a conference at the European branch of ACA in Amsterdam. That was pretty cool. Did London, and then I switched gears, went to Southeast Asia. I did Bali, Indonesia. I did 3 different cities in Thailand, and then I went to 3 different cities in Vietnam. And I spent 6 weeks there. Twisted my ankle. It's supposed to be 8 weeks there. Twisted my ankle. Had to come back early, and I was like, "Oh, this is so dramatic! Like, what is happening?" Oh, I forgot to mention I went to Paris, France, and Barcelona, Spain with my mom and my brother. And that was a week after I defended my dissertation. And
Mm.
so I said, I'm gonna have to give both cities a go again because I was so
Mm.
tired. Like
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I think I would like Paris if I was cognizant enough to know what actually was happening in Paris. I just remember the Eiffel Tower and macaroons, right? But like nothing else, right? Nothing
Yeah.
else. So I'm like, I actually need to go back and revisit Paris. But Barcelona, we did get to see Beyonce on
Mm.
her world tour. So that was actually really great. And then yeah, so I came back early from Southeast Asia with a sprained ankle and had to get physical therapy for the ankle, right? So they had your girl
Mhm.
down and out. And I was like, okay, maybe not traveling for a month or so. And then I went on a trip with my best friend, who's also a counselor educator. And we went to Panama as well as Colombia. And so I had some amazing trips during the gap year, some with family, some with friends. But the one that changed me the most was the solo trip to Southeast Asia, right? It's because I was
Mm.
just navigating countries on my own and being really spontaneous, which again
Yeah.
doesn't align with my Capricorn presentation, right? I'm like, plan, plan,
Mm.
plan, everything has a trajectory. But during the gap year, I'm like, seat of my pants, what country do I want to go next? Like, nothing on the agenda. Let's just figure it out as we're there.
Yeah.
And intentionally trying to step outside of ways of being that made me comfortable,
Yeah.
but also made me overwhelmed, right? Like these same ways of
Mhm.
being kept me pigeonholed in a state of constant angst. And I was like, actually, no, let's not do this anymore.
Yeah.
Let's try some new things. And
Oh man.
so I did. It was a
Yeah.
beautiful time to reset, right? A
Oh
beautiful time to
man.
reset, which brings me to where I am right now.
Okay. Oh my
Yeah.
God. There's so much. There's so much. So we got to dive into it. Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
I love how, again, I told y'all listeners, I told y'all who was coming to the show today. I told y'all she's here. She has
Yeah.
arrived. And I love hearing your story because I get to hear a lot of things in different ways. Like we've been talking for years, but there are certain things that I'm not aware of that I learned from these conversations. So a couple things came up for me that I want to dive into. And where we're going to go is the basement because that's where we are already. The
Bet.
basement, for the new listeners, the basement is where the heart lies, is where all of our stuff is locked away. It's dark, it's musty down there, it's mothballs, it's the worst. We don't spend a lot of time there. However, that's where the magic happens, is in the basement. And when the magic happens in the basement, you can bring all of that up to the second floor in the living room. The third floor is the attic, which is in your mind. That's where we spend a lot of time, but we don't do a lot of things. We do the thing in the living room, but in order to do the thing, we got to be mindful of where we're spending our time. So I'm curious to know, you have accomplished so much so soon, and you've found out about who you are and who you are not. And I love that. You shared that in what you're hearing, what you just said. So I'm curious to know, how did you shift from this timeline mentality to I'm done, and then how did you go from I'm choosing not to do, I'm choosing to be, and I'm just going to explore. So how did you do that? How did you overcome the grind to decide I ain't doing this shit no more? I'm gonna do it this way. How did you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. So first and foremost, a lot of thought, right? I wish I could be a seated by pants person all the time, but I'm
Hmm.
not, right? Like I said, like I planned the gap year for a year in advance. right? Where I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know exactly where I'll be, but I know what positions I need to move in place in order to do this, right? So I started taking small, minor steps and was really just thinking things out and processing things aloud with my mom. And I'm really thankful to have her as a support system. Because some folks would, I mean, she was she's still a hardworking person, right? And she was raised in an era where it was like, you work, you get a job and you work.
Hmm.
And so to even have that conversation with my mom of like, yeah, I think I actually, despite me being in school forever and finally having these degrees to do this work, I actually don't want to. Not right now, right?
Hmm.
And I don't, and part of that is also revisiting my past and acknowledging like I've been in states of burnout. I
Yeah.
know exactly how that feels. And towards the end of my doc program, particularly as things were happening surrounding my dissertation and committee members and other things that were going awry, I was like, if I get back to another state of burnout, I don't know if I'll come out of it.
Ooh.
And I'd rather not risk that. I don't want to risk my mental health in this way anymore, not for a finish line. I don't want to risk my physical health in this way anymore, because that was another thing, right? Like as a student, you get the student health insurance, you get to go to your student clinic for free, all the things. And they're like, yeah, your blood pressure's high. And I said, ooh,
Mm.
you know what? We got a family history of that already. I'm
Yeah.
not going to risk my well being. Nothing in my program, nothing about the work that was lying ahead of me is worth a stroke, is worth a
Wow.
heart attack, is
Hmm.
worth negative health impacts and harm and detriments to my mental health. And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, let's logically look at all these facts in front of us. You are tired. You have done all of this work thus far. And as you mentioned, right, I'm a high achiever, right? I've
Hmm.
done so much in so little time. I'm still 30 years old, right?
Yeah.
With a
Yeah.
doctorate. I can
Hmm.
sit down,
Yeah. True
right?
story. True
And I
story.
also didn't, I was like, well, I wouldn't call my 20s a waste, but I spent them grinding,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Mhm.
fine. A lot of people do. I don't want to spend my 30s the same way.
Come on.
I want
Ooh.
to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I want to rest. I want to sit back and look at the work that I've been able to do,
Yeah.
and allow that to push me forward to do more work, but in a timeline that feels aligned with something that's sustainable, something that I can continue to pour into and receive back from, where there's reciprocity in that, as
Yeah.
opposed to me just grinding, grinding, giving, giving. And now I've given away my time and my energy, my health and my well being, my mental solitude and all of my peace. I don't want to do that. And
Wow.
so I got to the point where I was literally just fed up. And I was like, okay, well, I'm done. Okay, I've given enough. I've actually done more than enough.
Wow.
I'm tired. I'm literally sick and tired, and I'm gonna become sick, quite
Yeah.
literally, if I keep giving. And so had the conversations with family members, meditated, prayed on it, and had real conversations with myself, right? Of like, what does it mean to sit down? What does it
Hmm.
mean to rest? Does that in any way mean you're a failure? Like having these discussions, right?
Yeah.
Of like, is this failure? Is this a fear of engaging further? Are you fear of the unknown of what this will look like on the other side of this degree? Like having those self conversations and getting into it and having the
Yeah.
tears, right? And being in the basement with myself, right?
Wow.
And then you bring
Wow.
in your own dehumidifier. You're like, wipe the tears, let's get it together. Okay. Make the decision. I had to
Yeah.
make the decision and stand firm in it. Right. And so
Mm.
part of, and people would think, you make this decision, but you can always change your mind. With the academic job market, when you decide you're not looking into jobs, you're not going to have one. Like
Come
if
on.
you don't start in your timeline, now of course there's always some leftover jobs at the end where they're like, oh, hop on real quick, but that may not be somewhere you want to be, somewhere you're willing to move to,
You
factors
speaking
that
it.
aren't right. And so I was
Yeah.
like, when I made that decision the summer before I defended, right, it was like, if I don't start looking in the fall or at the latest in the spring, I'm not going to have a job when I graduate. And that was a
Mm.
conscious choice, even when those emails were coming in my box, tempting me like, hey, here's this job. This could be a fit. This could be great. This place pays well. I was like, you know what? Resist. Yeah,
Mm.
it's in your inbox, but it's not for you in this moment. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've made a conscious choice to not do this. So you're going to have to follow through. Right.
Yeah.
And like testing myself and being tested throughout that year of like, you said you're going to do this. You said you're going to take care of
Mhm.
yourself in this way that you need to. Are you actually about that life?
Oh
And
man.
it boiled down to me actually being about that life. Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. Gator talk. That's that
Yeah.
Gator talk. I love it. So I want to break some things down because you've lived this and what you shared connects the dots to what I mentioned earlier about the attic and basement. It sounds like you knew where you were and you spent some time in that attic, and the attic is where logic lies. So you were talking logic, you were speaking logic, you were having conversations with your past self, your current self, your future self, like, hey girl, what we finna do and what we not finna do. And then on top of that, you had assistance because you mentioned therapy. A
Mhm.
therapist going to therapy. Come on, black unicorn with a
Mhm.
gold horn. So being in the basement by yourself, doing the work, and then deciding, hey, I need professional help. I need to continue professional help. I need somebody in this basement with me to help me process and work through, which allowed you to live your best life in the living room. This is
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got chill. I just got chill. And you ain't even, you just turned 30 like yesterday. Like, what are
Yeah.
we doing? Okay. So to the listeners, get over yourself. That's what I heard she said.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. Get out the way. Spend some time with you to figure out what works
Mhm.
for you and what doesn't. And what I also heard is you listen to yourself
Mhm.
and you got to a place in your life where your reality didn't align with your beliefs and
Yeah.
you decided, none, I'm done. Good night, boo
Yeah.
boo. And not only making that decision, but you stood behind it, and
Mm.
you are consistent in it, and that's where a lot of us struggle. We make a decision and then we go back on it. We make a decision and then the old version of us comes back and run the show. And for you, it just sounds like your journey has been a constant sculpting of the woman that you saw yourself as. And because you experienced that burnout and capacity fatigue, you recognize I ain't doing that shit again.
Nope.
So you figured you out. And I'm so proud. I'm so impressed. And your story, your truth is impactful to all the listeners here in some capacity because you're a living testimony of the work. And that's
Thank
exactly
you.
what you did, the work. Now, on top of that, I just want to talk a little Gator shit.
Yeah.
On top of the work, you knew I need to rest and celebrate. You
Yeah.
did both. Like people, salamanders don't do that. Salamanders don't they usually don't rest, they don't celebrate. But you
Yeah.
got to that place where you're at the pinnacle. That's the highest you can go academically. We can't go no further than the PhD.
Right.
We can get more PhDs, we can go get MD, but it doesn't go any further than that. So to do that and then to recognize you and give yourself what you need by challenging these beliefs and ideas that we have, from ancestry to community and culture and family, you broke the mold of all of that. And now you're living life on your own terms. And I am impressed. Thoroughly.
Thank you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. So to your
Absolutely.
point though, right? I when we mentioned like me being 30, on my 29th birthday, I was exhausted.
Mhm.
And I was in Alabama and I was trying to get a deadline for my proposal and all these things. And I was just writing, writing, writing. And I remember crying on my birthday because I wasn't celebrating it the way I wanted to.
Mm.
And I'm big on birthdays and I believe you should always celebrate your own life. And so I was like, I made up in my mind, I was like, on my 30th birthday, I'm gonna be on the beach and I'm gonna be
Yes.
lounging and I'm gonna be having a great time. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like envisioning myself a year ahead of time. And I was like, well, I'm turning 30. 30 is a new decade. That's a monumental birthday. I'm gonna spend it how I want to, not inside, looking at a computer screen, straining my eyes, crying about it. I'm
Mm.
going to be relaxing. And so I celebrated my 30th birthday on a beach in Bali, drinking mango
Oh.
smoothies, having a great time.
Oh
Right.
my God. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And what's so interesting, this is in real time. We didn't practice this. What's so wild about that, I did the same thing on
Mm.
my birthday. I wasn't in Bali. I wasn't in Bali. I was actually in the DR. But what
Nice.
the story that you just shared, I experienced the same thing, and it was at the end of my doc program where I faced the same thing of I need to just rest. And I always envisioned myself celebrating my birthday in a different country, and that's when it started.
Yeah.
And when I graduated with my doc program, and I saw myself on a beach with a cigar, legs crossed at the ankle, drink in hand, by myself, having the time of
Yeah.
my life, and that vision became my reality in 2018. And I just
Mm.
love that we living in this parallel universe where you recognized you and you were able to have the birthday of your dreams, and you still doing it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Ooh, I tried to tell y'all, listeners, listen, I need y'all to start writing this stuff down. Janelle, Dr. Jones, is dropping breadcrumbs, and breadcrumbs are information, things that we need to know, see, hear, that's hidden in plain sight. She's giving you the blueprint. She did it. She did it. So there are no excuses besides the ones that we make. And y'all making a lot of them. I'm sorry. We make a lot of them. I can't just blame y'all. It's me too. It's me too. So I want to shift gears just a moment because
Yeah.
there's so much more. I want to dive into. Well, before we go there, I did want to go back to something because I'm sure the listeners are as curious as me.
Okay.
Now, you traveled to 9 countries post doctorate. How the hell financially?
Yeah.
How did you afford? Because for me, when I graduated, I ain't had no money. I had nothing extra. I just had
Yeah.
enough to survive. How did you travel to 9 countries financially and manage yourself besides just staying at home? Because that's one part, but still, it costs money to travel. How did you do that?
Mm. Yeah. So first things first, I made sure that the majority of the countries I was going to be traveling to, the US dollar went further.
Look at
Right.
you.
And so
Look
I
at
was
you.
already like, okay, well, if $1 equals $3 somewhere else, right? Like, how do I make sure that the little money I will be having stretches further, right? That means
Mm,
I can stay longer. That means I can have better accommodations than I would in the States, right? I might be at a 4-star hotel in the States, but I'm at a 5-star in Bali because my money
nice.
goes further.
Yeah.
So doing that research on the front end, right? And planning where I would go a little bit. Additionally, I was in my last year of my doc program, right? When I made that decision, I pulled all them student loans. I said, I don't know when they're gonna get it back. I'm still waiting on somebody to cancel it all out, or we're gonna do the public service loan forgiveness. I don't know what we're doing. Somebody, you're not gonna get it all back for me. That's what I do know. And so I was like, go ahead and max me out. I hit up the bursar office, like, go ahead and give me all that thing, and I just put it away in savings. And put a little bit in investments, but I was like, okay, we're just gonna put most of this in savings, and I know not to touch it, right? So this other
Mhm.
piece of making that decision, sticking with it, but also having financial discipline of like
Yeah.
this money is reserved for rest. This money,
Nice.
not because this thing came up or you need a new tire or whatever. This money is for rest, right? And so it
Nice.
became my vacation fund. So I pulled as much as I could from the school. And what I will say too is like during the gap year, right? While I took a break of working full time, I still work part time, right? So I
Yeah.
was teaching online, which is
Mhm.
great and allowed me. I remember I was in Amsterdam teaching a class and it was 4 a.m. in Amsterdam, but like 6 p.m. for my students, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
woke myself up, set my timer, and then I went right back to sleep afterwards. But I was doing some work online, which was great. And then I had a couple paid speaking engagements. So like leveraging my degree, right? Of
Yes.
like somebody's gonna have to pay me for my time and energy.
Yeah.
And I can use those funds to further rest to protect my time and energy.
Oh my goodness.
So multiple pieces, right? Of like
Yeah.
figuring out where I was gonna go, making sure that the money stretched further, pulling out as much money as I could, and then making money all the while
Yeah.
so that I wasn't returning with nothing or I wasn't sitting here trying to beg, borrow, and steal from family members and friends.
Ooh.
Like I was like, I
Ooh.
got this.
Ooh.
I'll
Did
figure
did
it
you
out.
did you say beg, borrow, and steal?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Listen. Wait. You dropping bars right now.
Hey.
That is so real. Ooh, I love it.
Well, you
So
got to keep in mind too, other people don't have it, right? Like it's not anybody
facts.
else's responsibility to afford the lifestyle you want or the vacation that you're trying to take. And I would never ask my parents or family or friends to be like, hey, stop whatever you're doing so that I can go rest.
Wow.
Right? Let me use
Wow.
your money so that I can take time away while all the while you're working for your own funds. No, I'm gonna
Oh my
figure it out.
goodness.
If this is what I want for me, I'm gonna have to commit to it and take some appropriate steps to get it done.
Oh my goodness. Mic
Yeah.
drop. Okay, let's just turn your mic off. Let's just turn your damn mic off. I love all of this because for a lot of people, and especially just my humble opinion, for a lot of people, especially for Black women, it's this idea of, I'm catching flights, not feelings.
Mm.
And for you, you like, nah, nah, that ain't really how I'm wired. I'm finna go get it. I'm finna get it out the mud. I'm finna go get it for me. I'm not asking anybody. I'm not begging, borrowing, or stealing. And to me, catching flights, not feelings, equates to begging, borrowing, and stealing. Just my humble
Mm.
opinion. Just my
Mm.
humble. Just my humble, okay? Just my personal, professional, humble opinion. That's what that means. And you decided not to do that. And I'm so glad I asked the question because for the listeners, it's so important to hear the backstory. Sometimes, especially, with social media, we just see people living this way, but don't know how they got it. And we
Yeah.
got assumptions and ideas, and this person's this and that. And now, with you sharing your truth, your story, now we know. We know
Yeah.
what it takes to do that, and you did it, and it helped you in so many different ways, and you don't owe nobody shit.
Period.
And even with the government, we'll never owe government, my humble opinion. Again, we Black in America. We don't,
Agreed.
you owe us. But
Give me
you
them
owe us.
reparations. I
Give
feel
me my
that.
reparations.
Yep.
I'm still looking for my mule and 40 acres. But anyway, I'm so glad you did it. And you did it your way. You
Yeah.
did it your way.
Yeah.
And that's why this show is so important because this show helps us look at things from a different lens, different perspective to figure out what works for us. And that's different for everybody. But if I'm living life based off of what I think works for everybody, then I'm going to consume that. But
Mm.
you've decided I am more important. I am more valuable. I'm the gem. I'm the jewel. I'm the
Exactly. Period.
period. Period.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
You
You
get
have
it.
no you have no idea how many lives you changed by sharing your story today. You have no
Thank
idea. I'm
you.
telling you what I know, not what I heard. So it's coming back to you. I'm telling you now, the flowers are coming. So I want to switch gears. We had to go
Yeah.
get off the interstate for a minute, hang out in that rest stop. Now we get back on the road. I'm curious to know, how would you describe who you were, the woman you were, who you are, and who you are becoming? If you could describe those three people, how would you describe them?
Okay. So the woman I was, um, I'd say ambitious, driven, overworked, overwhelmed, trajectory focused, right? Um, I would also say, because I don't want to give all the bad adjectives, I was a fun lover, right? I still did my concerts, did things, traveled a little bit when I could. The woman I am now, ooh, um, that's interesting. Because I think so much of that work in the gap year was trying to unlearn who that previous version of self was.
Ooh.
And so who I am now, I'm still ambitious, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I am less trajectory focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part of that comes from experience,
Yeah.
because things still worked out even when I wasn't on trajectory, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
And so now I'm far more accepting of the flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
As things come my way and willing to deal with them as they come my way. So I'm less rigid, less regimented, more flexible.
Yeah.
Um, I'd say the woman I am now is far more interested in rest than anything else. I think the gap year spoiled me where I was like, oh, just wake up and do what I want. And now I'm like, I gotta work. What you mean? Like schedule, timelines. Like, what do you mean? My out of office email stays on. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I'm not here. Even when I'm here, I'm not here. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm far more relaxed. I'm far more intentional in
Yeah.
taking breaks and in using rest to restore myself. Um, yeah, I think that's who I am right now. And I'm
Yeah.
loving that version of self. I think it's my favorite iteration of self thus far.
Okay.
I'm
I love
enjoying
it.
it. Yeah. And so who I want to be, how I envision myself, balanced,
Mm.
right? Because I think prior version of myself was leaning far too left into the work. More recent version has been far too leaning away from the work, right?
Mm.
And so when I think of future self, I'm like, this person has a balance, right,
Yeah.
of what it means to commit, to put in work, to work towards those ambitious goals you have for yourself, but also know when to pull back
Yeah.
prior to being burnout, know when to rest prior to being overwhelmed. So a person, I envision myself as a person that's balanced. And that also means like in terms of work and life and romance and time for family and friends, that has always been something I've struggled to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
I become a little bit of extremist of like, I'm all school brain. It's finals week. Nobody talk to me. And it's like that far and too intense, right? Like your mama's still your mama, even when it's finals week. Like answer the phone. You don't know what's going on. Like, so that was the previous version. And so like when I think of future self, it's like balance, right? Of making time for family and friends and making time to today and have romance in life and not just all about work, not just all about the research and the jobs and things that fulfill that professional role, but like someone that is interested in and actively engaging in balancing the numerous roles in front of her.
Yeah. Oh man, that's beautiful. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm just watching the flower bloom. Like I remember our first conversation to where we are right now. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's a whole bouquet. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not even one flower, it's a whole bouquet. So
Thank
next
you.
question. I'm curious.
The
In 30,
expensive bouquet.
come on now. Come
Okay.
on. Gold rose petals. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So in 30 years, because you've lived
Mm,
about 8 lives in 30 years.
yeah.
Okay. Let's say
I'd
that.
agree with that. I'd agree.
I'm curious to know, out of all these years, especially with your last season in your doc program specifically? Because we had conversations about this. But in addition to that, out of all these years, what would you say you learned about other people?
Ooh, okay. So that's a beautiful question. Particularly like as an Adlerian, right? Where I'm like, views of others. Okay. Um, so I would say what I've learned about other people, on a global perspective, right? Even from traveling, it's like people are really just trying to do their best every
Mm,
day.
yeah.
A lot of people are just trying to do their best. And during the last year of my dog program, it's like people, I also learned that not everybody's intentional with you,
Mm,
right? And so whether their actions or thoughts or behaviors are impacting you, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not. Maybe they didn't have you in mind when they were doing whatever they were doing. Maybe they weren't thinking about how you'd receive a certain email or how you'd respond to a certain thing that they needed to do for them. They didn't have you in mind, and that's okay,
yeah.
right? It's not everyone's job to think about me, right?
Mm,
I
ooh,
can expect a certain level of human decency for sure, right? Let's not let that go out the window. But also, people have their own lives and their own things that they're navigating, their own challenges. And so, any type of malicious behavior, any type of negative experience I have with another person has so much more to do with them and where they're at, and less to do with me and where I'm at. And so, learn to receive folks' intentions or their lack of intentionality for what exactly it is. And at the end of the day, people are doing their best. And
mm,
that can look different for different folks, and you might have different expectations of different people. That's a lot to put on everyone else.
yeah.
And so I actively learned to stop doing that, to stop hurting my own feelings and
Yeah.
having those
Yeah.
expectations of other people who were or were not being intentional with me and had their own stuff going on.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Bouquet. Gold, gold rose petals. Okay. That's what we talking about. Gold rose. And I ain't talking about yellow. I'm talking
Yeah.
about literal dipped in gold. Dipped in gold.
All the carrots. Yeah.
All of it. I am here for all of this. You have no idea. You have no idea how happy I am of all of this. Okay. Because I was there. I was in the
Yeah.
passenger seat with you on
Yeah.
this road to what the hell?
Yeah.
What the
You were the whole way. And I'm sure there were moments on that journey where you were like, one day she'll get this. Right.
And
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 like one day she'll get those lessons.
and part of me, yes. And the other side was like, you don't deserve this.
Oh yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
deserve it. That was
Yeah.
the other. That was like Big Brother. Big Brother. What the heck? What y'all doing to my girl down there? No,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Time out. Do I need to catch a flight and not
Right.
some feelings? Like, do I need to?
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
trying
And
to
so, yeah,
go
to
ahead.
that
Go ahead.
point, right? It's like there are things that come up in life, right? Where you're like, this isn't for me, or this isn't a part of my journey, or like, why me?
Yeah.
Right? Why is this happening to me? And part of those lessons were like, it's not because of you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
relinquishing the involvement of self in relation to other people's actions.
Yes.
Nothing to do with me.
And this mindset, because this is empire building, and for the new listeners, empire building, all of us are on different floors at different times. And what I'm hearing for you is out of a 20-story floor building, you're on the 20th floor. Your
Mhm.
perspective is very different. You see things on a very high level. People on the third floor, fourth floor can't see what you see. And what I see, because we're on the same floors, come on, church, is therapy, self-reflection, self-awareness, journal. Like, you have done the work
Mhm.
that it takes to have the perspective that you have to recognize. You said a quote, and I'm putting this somewhere, everywhere. It's not everyone's job to think about me.
Yeah.
Like, that is some powerful stuff that a lot of people has never said or thought of, because it's the thought of, you're supposed to think about me, and you
Mhm.
recognize, boo boo, that ain't the
Yeah.
game. That ain't
Yeah.
the game. That's
Yeah.
growth. And big shout out to your therapist. Big shout out to
Yeah.
you. Big shout out to your
Yeah.
therapist.
Yeah. I will note too, like to that point, everyone's not supposed to think about me, but the people I actively choose to be in community with me should be,
Come
right?
on. Come
Right?
on.
Faculty members or colleagues or whomever else, not necessarily my chosen community
Come
versus
on.
mentors versus friends versus family members I'm close to. If
Yeah.
you're actively in my community and I'm actively in yours, right? So it's
Yeah.
reciprocal in that way of like I check in on you, you check in on me, then yeah,
Yeah.
there is a level of care and expectation, even though we're supposed to relinquish some of those for people. When we
Mhm.
make choices on who's in our community, yeah, they should be looking out for us. Yeah, they
Yeah.
should be having our best interest in mind when they're acting in relation to us. Everyone else, no expectations.
Wow. Ooh, ooh. Listen, if this is what going to 9 countries do for you, listen, y'all, y'all need to get it there to the listeners. Get you a therapist.
Yes.
Start now for next year. Start now for next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Because you are speaking so much factual information. It's
Yeah.
facts, it's evidence. You have evidence, which is why you can stand on it. And you stand on business 10 toes down with some gold
Yes.
rose petals. So next
Exactly.
piece before we close out, because we can do this all day. You know how we
Yep.
get down. I'm curious to know what's a word, phrase, memory, or moment that has stuck with you personally or professionally.
Mm, that's a wonderful question. Interesting. Okay. I'm like, my mind is going through the gamut of all of them. Like, what has really stuck with me? Okay. So professionally, this was the summer of 2020, right? So we're in the pandemic. And I had a person I was working on a research paper with, and they were expecting a portion of the research paper from me, a draft
Mhm,
of like the analysis section or whatever. And I was set to be like second author on this paper, and I was really excited. And it was one of my first manuscripts, all the things. And then my grandpa passed,
mhm,
right, during the pandemic because of COVID. And I hadn't anticipated his death rocking me the way that it did.
mhm,
But loss is loss, and the way that we grieve looks different. And so for me, I know in times of overwhelm and of stress, I unplug, right? Computers off, phones off. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not doing any work. I need to exist in the feelings and just be, right?
mhm,
And so that led me to getting the draft to this person late. And I
mhm,
emailed them to say, hey, person in my family just died. Can't get this draft to you by the intended deadline. Can I have an extension? That email somehow never got to them.
mhm,
And so they hit me back and they were like, yeah, you're so unprofessional. And like, I'm demoting you on this paper. You're not doing this work. And we expected this from you. You're unprofessional. And I was like, whoa, whoa. Like,
mhm.
you don't even know what's going on,
Yeah.
right? And you're sitting here trying to tell me who I am, right?
Mm,
And how my career will go and what my profession looks like and how that'll follow me in the field and all these things.
yeah.
When you don't even know the backstory.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me for multiple reasons. One, because it hurt my feelings, right? And I was like, dang, like I really, first of all, I really wanted to be like second author, right? Authorship
Yeah.
looks great when you're trying to like do things in the field and blah blah blah. And so I was like, dang, like I had been doing all this work up until this point, but you're willing to demote me, so to speak, because I wasn't able to do one thing for you, right?
Mm,
In a specific time. It's not that I'll never do it. It's that I can't get it to you by Wednesday.
yeah.
Give me till
Yeah.
next Wednesday, right? So that
Yeah.
was one thing. But then secondly, it stuck with me because it reminds me that once I started to get into different positions of power, so when I'm leading papers, right, or when I'm someone's faculty member, giving grace is so essential. We don't know what's happening with people. We don't know what they have going on in their world. And making assumptions, jumping to conclusions, even if, we're missing a deadline or something's behind or whatever, things aren't panning out how we plan them to be, grace is still important. Grace is still necessary for everyone, not
Mhm,
just folks who are doc students, not just other colleagues who are in our field. Graces should be given to the person at the grocery store, to your next door neighbor, everybody you encounter, because we don't know what's going on. And so that moment taught me a lot, both professionally and personally. It carried over,
yeah.
right? To know that I need to be extending grace in professional settings and in personal settings, but also it also reminds me of like who not to work with,
Mm.
right? All
Ooh.
opportunities are not good opportunities. Everything that comes your way, you don't have to take, and everybody who's in a position of power doesn't deserve to have power over you.
Woo. My goodness. A word. Listeners, y'all just got hit in the head with a honey bun because it's soft and it's still assault. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing all of this. And I'm curious because I don't want to assume.
Mm.
I'm assuming, well, I am assuming, I'm sorry. I'm assuming, but I'm curious. Was that particular person a counselor educator?
Yeah. Oh
Mm,
yeah. Oh yeah.
mm.
It
I
be your
get
own people, you
it
know?
be your own people. And I want the reason I asked it, again, that was my that's my thought. That's who it was, but you just confirmed it. This goes back to what you shared earlier about, people are doing the best they can what they have, basically.
Mm.
And we have an expectation as helping professionals in our story, in our journey to get here. We want to just serve and help and mentor. We just want to do all the things because of how hard it was for us to get here. Not so that's an expectation we have,
Yeah.
that other people have the same passion. And you were met with that resistance of, oh, this ain't what I thought it was. And what it actually is, I'm not a fan of it. And I'm so glad you shared this. And for the listeners, these are the moments that you have to begin taking note of, paying attention to, because hurt people, specifically hurt helping professionals, hurt helping professionals. And that's exactly what happened. The difference is you, Dr. Jones, took that experience and used it to enhance yourself and the people that you're going to connect with that you haven't even met yet, that you definitely going to meet after this episode. You, because they already know what they're going to get. They already know. You already sold it. Like, they already know whatever it costs. Yep, I'll pay it because I already know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
You've already proven you the shit. Come
Period.
on. Come on. You already proved it.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you shared it. I'm so glad you persevered beyond that experience. And on the behalf of great helping professionals who are doing great work, I apologize on the behalf of the horrible ones
Mm.
because you'll never get that apology from them.
Yeah.
So take mine instead.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All day, all day, all day. All right, two more and we're going to get out of here because you
All
got
right.
shit to do. Catching flights, not feelings. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yes, I'm talking about for those of you, sidebar, for those of you who do catch flights and feelings and, trying to get flued out, these are moments. I really want you to look into the basement of these moments. What does that mean? Because Dr. Jones gave me a nugget of beg, borrow, and stealing. And I feel as though those three keys can impact us in every area of our life if we're not paying attention to it. That's my disclaimer. I'm going to shut up. Okay, next piece. What is an interesting fact about yourself or something about you that people wouldn't believe?
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Interesting fact about myself. I've been to more than 200 concerts.
Wow.
I
Wow.
love live music. That is one of
Wow.
those spaces where I feel like the most alive, right? And
Yeah.
connecting, particularly when there's like a live band behind the artist, right? And so most recently I saw Stevie Wonder on tour, which was
Nice.
amazing and something I didn't think I was going to be able to do during my lifetime or during his
Mm,
lifetime, right? And
yeah.
so I saw Stevie Wonder recently, but that was I think like my 208th concert.
Wow.
And
So
so
let me
yeah,
ask
love a tour.
if you have it, because we're gonna go a little further. I'm curious, your top three. If you were to give the top
Ooh.
three experiences of concert after 200, what was
Okay,
those
yeah,
top three experiences be?
for sure. Okay, so I'll do it in order. Least to greatest, right? So number three, I would say would be Drake, even though he's in hot water right now. Because we love Kendrick. Drake put on a show, and that was one of those. I got a last minute ticket. And I ended up like front row floor seats, like
Nice,
for under $200. And so I was like,
nice.
"Ah, this is great."
Yeah.
And like when you just make eye contact with artists, it's just like one of those things. And so
Mm.
I'll never forget Drake looking me square in the eyes and me being like, normal people would have fainted, but I'm good. I'm a G. I'm good, right? So Drake was number three. That was a good one. Number two would be I'm between my one and my two. That's interesting. Uh hmm. Number two would probably be Usher in Vegas, right? That's more recent as well, but that was a show. Like that was
Mm.
like and Usher was the first CD I ever owned, right? I was like
Mm.
first grade playing on my CD player with the headphones on at my brother's basketball practices. That's how I stayed entertained. And so my parents probably should not have let me have an Usher CD. at 7, but like that's what I was doing. And so learn the words and like just to see it live, this artist of like my lifetime, right? Like so good. And then number 1. All right, I'll make a really long story short. Senior year of high school, the Super Bowl was in Indianapolis, and my favorite artist at the time was Wale, rapper.
Mhm.
And he came to Indianapolis, but he was performing at a club, and I was not 21, I was 18, and
Yeah.
they don't play that. So I was like, okay, I'm not going. The following Monday, so after Super Bowl Sunday, he was performing in Detroit, which is about 5 hours away from me. Bought a
Hmm.
ticket with my high school earnings. Like I was like, I bought a ticket. Mind you, didn't have a car, didn't have a license. This thing is 5 hours away. And so I'm like, hey, mom, what you doing on Monday, girl? And she was like, working. Why, what are you're going to school? What are you talking about? I was like, so I just bought this ticket to this concert in Detroit. Can you take me? And my mom, having raised me, knowing that like I never did a senior ditch day, never got in any trouble, didn't do anything, like didn't sneak out past curfew. I was a goody two shoes. She was like, yeah, that. So she drove
Wow.
me to Detroit, and I just like I sat at the like she didn't like the artist, so she was like chilling in the car. We had family to Detroit. She went to go see my uncle in Detroit. Um, and I was front row at the concert, and that was actually a concert. I got pulled on stage, right? And so
Wow.
like I got to meet my favorite artists and rap bar for bar with them, look them in the eye,
Mhm.
and got to be on stage with my favorite artist at the time. And like my mom was down for it. And then we drove back. We're driving back. It's like 2 a.m. We get back to Indianapolis at 7 a.m. And I was like, where are we going? She was like, oh, we're going home so you can shower and go to school. Like, you still got responsibilities, sis.
Yeah,
We let you have your
yeah.
fun, but
Wow.
like, we're not going to be missing school now. So it was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, my mom is my road dog.
Yeah.
And also just an amazing moment with the artist. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Big shout out to Mom Dukes. Big shout
Yeah.
out to Mama. Oh, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Of
Oh
course.
man, music. Three things, in my opinion. Three things that connects us. Number one, belief. Number two, music. Number three, food.
Mm,
Those three things will connect human beings on different
yeah.
levels. So, last question. Thank you for sharing that
Of
piece because
course.
music is connected to this podcast as well. So, for those who don't know, there is a Three Parallels podcast playlist, and there will be new songs added to that playlist that Dr. Jones will be sharing with us. So,
Yes.
dive into the playlist and know that there's a story for every song. So, when you hear Usher, when you hear Wale, don't say Wale. Stevie Wonder and Beyonce, because yep, I'm
Yeah.
throwing her in there. You
Yeah.
already know there's somebody that connects to that. And your story, your lived experience is what I love that connects us. So,
Mm.
last thing is on this show, we offer life work. Life work is a little different from homework. Homework, you take it home, you do it, turn it in, you never remember it again. Life work, you take it home, you do it, your life will change. So, if you can offer a keepsake to the audience, to the listeners, some life work, something that they can do to pivot, to shift, what would it be?
Mm. Say no.
Ooh, ooh, honey bun,
Say no.
honey
Yeah, right
bun.
upside their head. Yeah, say no. Go ahead and tell them no.
And that's it.
The opportunity that's for you will come around. The timeline that's meant for you to be on will come around. In this moment, if you're tired, if you need rest, even if you don't need rest, say no.
Mm, that's beautiful. And last time I checked, no was a complete sentence. You don't
It
have to
is.
explain it.
No
Okay.
expounding upon it. No is no. That's
Ooh, one time for some boundaries. One time for some great boundaries. Okay. Bouquet of roses dipped in gold.
period.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so this has been a blessing to me. I don't know about y'all that's listening, but I have been blessed. You have blessed me. So, for those who also have been blessed by you, if people want to get in contact, want to give you some flowers, dipped in gold, want to get you flued out,
They can do that.
whatever it is, how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah. So first I have social media. It is at _Well, _Janelle, Janelle. That's my Instagram handle for my professional counseling account. The personal one is personal. We keep it personal.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the professional one, that's boundaries, exactly. The professional one is there. I can also be reached by email, jjonescounseloreducator@gmail.com for folks that want to reach out. If you want me to come and speak, I can do
Yes.
that. Any other
Yes.
opportunities, if you feel like flying somebody out, welcome to that.
Yes.
But yeah, those are two ways to get in touch.
Okay. We talking about keynote, personal personal trainer, coach, therapist, counselor, educator,
Yeah,
everything. She does it. Okay. So whatever you need, she does it. It don't matter what it is. Thank you for
exactly.
sharing that. So before we close out, any final thoughts, anything you want to leave the audience with before we get out of here?
I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to be here and like so thankful that this podcast exists. I'm super proud of you,
Thank
right?
you.
Because you're out here living dreams and helping other people live theirs as well and supporting folks along the way. And that's so beautiful. So just thank you for your mentorship, for your support, for your presence. And I am wishing nothing but the best for you.
I appreciate all of that. And I accept my flowers. I have no problem with that.
Yes.
That's what Gators do.
Those are
So,
dipped in platinum. Okay. Those
oh,
flowers
come on.
dipped in
Come on.
platinum.
And I got
Yeah.
a necklace made.
Period.
Let's go. Rockefeller chain ain't got nothing on this one. So this has been another classic, phenomenal episode of the Three Parallels podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we once were to create some distance between who we are now and who we once were, to see ourselves for who we can be and embrace this current space to become the best version of us, period. You heard your instructions. You heard the challenge. You heard the life work. Practice saying no. If any of the information shared in this podcast episode today has been a blessing to you, do not keep it to yourself. Give it away. Share it. Share the story. Share the truth. If this hits you, hit somebody else with it. Okay? Do not keep it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever it is that you need to do to keep this energy going, because I believe in the ripple effect. The ripple effect, you throw one pebble in the pond, is going to impact the entire ripple, the entire pond, and everything else around it. Our job is to throw the pebble in the pond. This episode was us throwing the pebble in the pond, and we invited y'all in because we do this shit every week. Much love. Have a great day. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, weekend, life, whatever it is. Peace.